It was so nerdy. We're live.
Yes, you are.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Chocolate Fascination, the live stream slash YouTube channel slash podcast all about fine chocolate. I am joined today with Mr. AJ Wentworth of The Chocolate Conspiracy.
Hello.
I'm curious, should we get going like this early?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, people, I guess they're late to their own shame. I'm going to go with shame.
Yep.
Welcome for those that are joining us. Really glad to have you here. AJ has been a friend of the Chocolate Society and myself for, I think, the first time I met you was in November of 2010. I think that was when we were upstairs above Caputo's and we had hot chocolate night. I think that was your first time to come to Chocolate Society.
Wow. I don't remember.
I'm gonna give it.
Awesome.
I'm gonna give it a solid maybe.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. I know it was Chocolate Society.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I remember one of the first meetings, there was only like 6 people there.
Yeah, that was, for a long time. We had very few people.
Yep. So I was like one of the founders. I wasn't, but I was there. I was in the beginning.
I mean, the first year, there's not a whole lot of people left coming from that first year. There's a few.
Really?
Yeah, there's several.
Nice.
There's several that I still know well, but maybe don't get to come out as often as they'd like. But
well,
there's
good memory on that upstairs.
Maybe
hot
I
chocolate.
made it up. I know that night there was a fairly good number of people I met for the first time, and I was that's when I met Eric Durkee for the first time from Creole Brew.
Okay.
And then there's a few people that started coming to the Chocolate Society a lot that was their first time.
Yep.
And that was honestly, that was one of our early bigger meetings. Bigger at the time meant over 10.
Yeah, all right, okay.
And yeah.
It's been a long time.
The old days. We've now been going for long enough to where I can get nostalgic. For a long time, you can't really get nostalgic when it was 2 years ago.
No.
Oh, the old days.
Yeah.
But now it's I looked different. I was in my 20s.
But 10 years? Yeah,
10 years.
I love it.
We're talking double digits as of April.
Yeah.
I've lamented many times that we didn't get to celebrate our birthday this year because of the Rona.
I know.
Anyway, you're about to say something.
Yeah. My business just hit 11 years in August. Yeah. I know. So we made it over.
Not
over
clap
10.
too close to the microphone. Sorry if that's too close.
Yep.
Well, congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. So I had been in business 1 year when we actually met.
Okay.
I'd been making chocolate for a year.
So you predate the Chocolate Society by a little bit.
Just a little.
I was under the impression that you started coming when it was brand new, but you were a whole year old.
Yeah. But you guys, the Chocolate Society gave me the best and worst feedback. So.
We need to talk about that because that was so choice. First, let's talk about who is AJ, because I'm looking at this handsome gentleman next to me wearing that awesome shirt.
Thanks.
Where are you? Where did you come up? Where did you come of age in this world?
In the chocolate world, or in anything
on Earth.
So I grew up in Utah. I grew up in a little town called Roosevelt,
which is out east,
eastern Utah.
It's closer to Colorado than it is to Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Or probably somewhere in between, right in between.
It's about probably 40 minutes to the border.
Oh wow, okay.
Yep. Maybe. Don't quote me.
So super urban out there, right?
Yeah, lots of malls, lots of venues. Tiny little town. My dad was a school teacher, and so I hated it growing up there. But now, as I'm older, I'm like, oh yeah, that was really really nice.
Yeah.
Clean air, clean water, stars.
I don't understand what. Clean air?
Yeah, what? What
is that?
I've had this scratchy throat for 3 weeks, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's because it's smoky out.
Yeah, the world's on fire.
I know, but it's not as bad as Oregon, so Washington or
California.
California is dead right now. Yeah, but no. So I lived there, and then I went to school at Dixie State, St. George. So my brother went to Dixie. My grandparents lived in St. George, so I've always loved that area. And
when you're doing dishes, do you say wash?
no,
Okay.
nope.
Did everyone around you growing up say wash?
Oh, they say crick, and yeah. Ugh. My dad's an English teacher, so
You guys spoke properly.
yeah, most of the time.
You spoke good.
Yeah, we spoke real good. Yeah, so Dixie, and then after Dixie, kind of bounced around. I moved a bunch. I moved up to Washington State at one point, and I lived in Bellingham, and that's when I started getting into food. I never wanted a food job.
Right.
I always kind of avoided it because I just didn't want to go down that road. But then I got sucked into food. I changed my diet. I became a raw foodist, and so I went vegan, and then I became a raw foodist. And at the time, it was just this nice place to be, and I really loved it. My brother lived up there, so I helped. My oldest brother moved up there, Chris, and we helped him move up there. And once I was up there, I was like, "This place is awesome." I still love Bellingham. There's like a piece of my heart up there, and I loved it. So I got a job at catering, and I was working in a really amazing restaurant that was part of the hotel, this really nice hotel. So that's when I got into food. The crazy thing is that I was becoming a raw foodist, and then I was working in like the cooked food industry. So I got to see the crazy world of food and waste, and just I wanted to. But then I started really getting into becoming a chef, and I wanted to be a chef. So then I left, and at that point I was still a raw foodist to some degree, and I went down to a raw food retreat center to do an apprenticeship.
Where at?
It was in Patagonia at the Tree of Life.
Patagonia, like Argentina.
Patagonia, Arizona.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's the Argentina of America.
Yeah.
Of the United States.
I wish I went to Patagonia. That would have been amazing. No, so it's just outside of Tucson.
Oh, okay.
It's really close to the border. It's really close to Nogales.
It's like crazy hot.
Actually, it's kind of like high desert. So it's
a little cooler.
And I was there in the winter months. So I was there. I spent about 3.5 months there.
Okay.
And it was a weird cult. And
sweet.
Yeah. I was when I was there, I was like, it's not a cult. It's not a cult. But then it was really interesting. The owner, his name's Gabriel Cousins, and he has done tons of work with diabetes and diabetic patients, and so that was kind of his mission. He's been a doctor for years, and but I read one of his books as a raw foodist, and I learned about the apprenticeship there. And so that's when I really started getting into food. That is actually where I was introduced to a raw cacao bean for the first time. So that was really what sparked my interest in chocolate.
Right.
That was I don't know what it was. There was this old German chef. She was this amazing lady named Gisela. She wasn't that old. If she's watching, she'd be like, I'm not old. But she was amazing. She was really nice, and she basically showed me how to process cacao beans by hand, like you would do with like a mortar and pestle style. Yeah. And from that point on, just like there was something that just sparked in my brain with the cacao bean. And so I didn't want to make chocolate at that point. I just loved it. And then I kind of went down the rabbit hole from there.
Sure.
After that, I bounced around, moved, worked as a chef. I went back up to Bellingham. And yeah, bounced around a lot. I went and worked in California, worked on an organic farm.
Okay.
For a while. Yeah. And I was trying to get a chef job, but it was that was like 2008. So it was right when the recession was starting.
Right.
So couldn't get a job anywhere, especially not as a raw food chef.
Right.
So that was kind of like the height of raw foodism, I guess. I mean, it still was around as a movement. Yeah. So Tree of Life was amazing. It was a really cool experience. It was a weird kind of cult, but I had fun. It was a good time. And then finally, I ended up I was really interested in nutrition.
Okay.
Raw food and nutrition. So I went to a school in New York City called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Right.
And I became a certified holistic health practitioner.
Sure.
So then I moved back to Utah. And when I was living there, I lived in Connecticut, and so I was bouncing back and forth from Connecticut to New York.
Okay.
And I love that's when I really got into chocolate. So that's when I started the business.
Okay.
And that was basically I moved back home 2009. So I graduated August 2009.
Okay.
So it was a year program. And then they had a second year, so I did the second year, but the second year was long distance. So I went to some conferences and things like that. But
Sure.
it was great. So it was a 2-year program, super quick, easy. And then I started working for the school as a health coach. So I was coaching the new students. So that's part of the program. You get your own health coach as you go through the program.
Right.
So I had my own when I went through the program, and then I was coaching students. So I was coaching for the school. I was doing my own coaching on the side, and then I was starting the chocolate business.
Okay.
So over time, as the chocolate business started growing, I just slowly abandoned. I started hating clients because they can't get healthy. then they blame me, and it's not my fault. It's their fault for not doing what I recommend. And it's just, I realized that wasn't the field I wanted to be in.
Right.
And chocolate's way more fun. So I almost said funner. No, just kidding.
Shut up.
No, it was great. And so that's over I hit about 3 years. And then it was full on chocolate.
Right.
Yep.
Cool.
So, and I've had a few clients here and there when I help people out with health. But then at some point I stopped being a raw foodist. And once I got into chocolate, it just, I changed my own diet, and once I had moved back to Utah, I brought back dairy into my life and brought meat back into my life, and focused on local foods and what was in Utah. And plus, I started doing the farmers markets, so that's really where I was doing a bunch of farmers markets. That's kind of what launched my business, and that's where I would sell most of my products. So then I was eating all this good, lovely local food. So
and Utah's got great. Everything.
Exactly.
Got great beef, pork,
Yeah.
every kind of plant. No tropical stuff, obviously.
But stone fruits all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great apples, great honey.
Yeah.
Which kind of is relevant here tonight.
Exactly. Yep.
When you started making chocolate, what was your initial approach?
My initial approach was the raw food approach.
Okay.
So I didn't make it from the bean.
Okay.
So when I was learning how to make chocolate, basically it was the simple fudge method. It was cocoa butter, cocoa powder, mix those together, add the sweetener, pour it into bars, let them cool in the fridge. Right. Okay. That was kind of the initial idea.
And you've been doing honey for a long time. Did you start with honey or did you start with something else?
No, I've always started
with
honey.
Been honey is your sweetener.
Correct. So once I started the business, I didn't want to make any chocolate with any sweetener besides, I didn't want to use cane sugar.
Okay.
I never wanted to use cane sugar. I still don't. We use cane for some other products that we do custom manufacturing for, but none of my products have cane sugar. So I only use 3 sweeteners. I use maple, honey, and coconut palm.
Okay.
And that's it. So, and that's what I've stuck with. That's what we've done the entire time of the business.
Okay.
So, yep. I'm fascinated with bees. I'm fascinated with honey. I love honey.
Awesome.
I got into honey once I moved. I guess I've always kind of been a honey nut. That was what really got me into honey is when I was young. One of these little side gigs I had. There's a beekeeper in our neighborhood, Mr. Walker, and he's a badass. He's just a curmudgeon old dude, but a really nice dude. So these 2 guys, Walker and Sorensen, they were neighbors, and Sorensen had a farm, and Walker was the bee guy, and so all of Sorensen's farms were where he would keep his bees. And so I worked sometimes with Sorensen moving sprinkler lines, and it was terrible. But then I would go help Walker with his bees. Yeah. So that's what I really got interested in, bees keeping and honey.
Okay.
And so, but I don't know, I probably was 12.
Do you have any particular, everyone has honeys that they like, right? But do you have any particular flowers that you go to or any that you don't like, especially around here? Because I really like the high desert flower honeys.
Yeah.
The wildflower rather. There's a certain company to the north that was awesome, and they had this scandal a few years back.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah, bummed me out because like the quality really slipped.
Yep.
I wonder where they are now in terms of quality. But anyway,
I haven't tried it.
There have been like so many wildflower honeys that are great, and then I know you've done a lot of honey from Utah County with farms.
Yep. So my favorite honeys would be I love fruity honeys.
Okay.
So anything that's like apple orchards, cherry orchards, blackberries, and
Blackberries.
yeah,
Awesome.
wildflowers, high elevation wildflower
Okay.
honey. So and especially like obviously we're in Utah, so stuff that comes out of like up near Brighton. Or yeah, like Eden. There's like that kind of.
So we're around 4,000. So you're saying the stuff that's coming from like 6,000 feet and above.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and those types of wildflowers. I really
Right.
like. I love certain types of desert honeys,
Right.
like cactus,
Oh.
like that are like cactus flowers. So when I was in
Interesting.
Arizona, there was a lot of really interesting honey that would come.
Like prickly pear flowers?
Yeah,
Oh,
or
okay.
yeah. There. What are the? I mean, saguaros. Like they're like they actually will bloom.
Right.
I don't know if. Don't quote me. I don't know if it's that cactus in particular, but there are certain cactuses that will actually bloom, and then they'll get pollinated, and
That's cool.
yeah, it's delicious.
Any flowers you don't like?
I don't. Well, not a flower, but I don't like buckwheat honey.
Oh, okay.
It's not my thing. It's usually
It's weird.
yeah. It's too dark. It's too rich.
Right. It's kind of molassesy.
Exactly. But I
Yeah.
love molasses, but I don't like.
Well, it's not
buckwheat.
actually molasses.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It is. Well,
It has that dark, rich flavor, and it's just not my thing.
Right. Like chestnut honey is really interesting,
Yep.
but I've got a low threshold. I'm like, I've had enough chestnut honey.
Yeah. It's funny. I love bee pollen as
Okay.
well, but bee pollen you have to be really tricky with. If you have, it's good for allergies, but if you are allergic, that you'll have reactions to it.
Mm.
So I can't eat bee pollen from desert bees.
Oh, okay.
So I really like the honey, but I can't eat bee pollen from like Arizona. Like
Oh,
if it's
interesting.
so I'll break out. It's weird. It's great. Yeah, I didn't know what was happening to me. I was like, oh gosh. But yeah, there's some bee pollen. It's called Jara, and it's comes out of Australia,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's just one bee, one. They only pollinate one plant, and so all the pollen's the same,
Crazy.
and it's dry and crunchy. So a lot of pollen kind of is moist and soft,
Right.
but this is like you can just sprinkle it on anything that you want. A little nice like, yeah, it's super good.
That sounds tasty.
I wanted to use it in a bar,
Right.
but it's crazy expensive. So
What? Tell me about your experiences in using honey with chocolate. Like, what does that do, texture-wise? I mean, there's obviously some horror stories. I was at Caputo's today getting some more chocolate, and I ran into some people from Seattle, and I was talking about your chocolate.
Mhm.
Actually, I was like, honey, in case you're curious about maybe you want to try this at home, do not do that. It literally was pulling bits of granite out of my wheels
Oh,
on my
yeah.
Melanger. So, what's been your experience in terms of texture, flavor, breaking stuff?
I heard the horror stories before. Well, at least I heard one horror story of honey in a melanger. My experience is that yes, so texture, based on the chocolate, the texture is softer.
Okay,
And it does have this. It's a different sweetener, so the sweetness is different.
right.
So it's a different kind of sweetness. So like even though I like my bar is 75%, it doesn't. It tastes sweeter than a 75% bar, usually.
Right.
But it again, it depends on your palate. Working with it's really difficult. It crystallizes. It's stiff. It's waxy because of the beeswax, and depending on how filtered it is or unfiltered. So my first 3 years, I could never get consistent honey, and I was
Right.
always buying. I wanted to buy local honey, so I was always
Sure.
buying local honey. But the seasonality, it would change the honey. So I've lost lots of chocolate as experiments or not experiments, or just it didn't work out. And
Right.
machinery, there's no chocolate machinery designed for
Honey chocolate.
honey chocolate.
Right.
So I kind of had to be innovative, and we had to figure out a way to make it. I just had to so everything I was doing. One, I was doing raw cacao. 2, I was using honey. So like from the beginning, everything I was trying didn't work, or it had to work a different way. And I had over time, we figured it out. And plus, there are some machines that are to process chocolate, obviously at some degree, but tempering was a big deal. Tempering was really tough. When I first started, I hand tempered everything. Yeah, but I mean, I wasn't making a lot of chocolate at that point. But I've gone through so many different methods. The main thing is what happens is as chocolate and honey get agitated, it's a liquid sweetener, so you're whipping it essentially. So the longer the batch turns, the longer the mass is churning with honey, it's basically thickening. So the timing has to be done really well. You just have to be really smart about it. So I've definitely learned lots of ways not to do it.
You can't just turn on the tempering machine and go somewhere.
Yeah, well, you can now. I can. But like our machines, I can only fill them half capacity because if I fill them full, it'll get too thick and it'll bind up. And so my tempering machines are only half full. I can't use a continuous tempering machine. Okay. I know that some people are, but they're not
with honey.
Yeah, like Naive.
Oh, okay.
But he's not using honey as a sweetener. He's using honey as a flavoring.
Okay, so just a little bit.
Yeah, you can use a little bit, but it gets the machinery is too intricate, and so it's a little interesting. What other problems have I had with honey? Oh yeah, so see, the first 3 years I could never get consistent honey. Never could get consistencies. But I was buying from different local people. Right.
Different times of the year.
Yes. Yeah. And
different flowers.
Exactly. I remember this apricot honey. It was so good. And it was the first time I had bought a 5-gallon bucket of honey. This was my first or second year. I was always buying just small amounts and just making small batches. But I finally hit that point where I was like, 5 gallons. And it just was terrible. And I lost probably 45 pounds of chocolate because it was the honey was so thick and it was super waxy. So it was really difficult to learn. But now I have we have a consistent source. And the cool thing about them is they have 800 hives all over Utah. Right. And so they pool all the honey together. Okay. So there is a seasonality to it, obviously, but we've learned to work with it. So usually if we do one batch, and if with a new season, it's usually a cup variance, and that's it. So but we'll make a batch and we'll taste it and we'll know. And when I started making it too, I never had, because the honey was so different, I had to do everything by taste or smell. And that's how for years, all my employees just hate it because I never had any recipes, because I would make everything by feel and look, because if you add too much honey, it starts to get too thick. And so that's not even tempering. That's just adding it in. So, and that's another difference with my chocolate too, is we have a high amount of cocoa butter. Right. So not a lot of chocolatiers use as much cocoa butter as I do. So I have about 25% cocoa butter in all my bars, but I have to have that extra cocoa butter to make the honey work. Okay.
Compensate for the effect of the honey.
Yep. Originally, it would be a ratio of cocoa butter, and then I would use coconut butter. And not coconut oil. I would actually use the coconut butter. But what would happen is over time, the bars would, if they sat too long, the coconut would go rancid because of the honey. So the sweetness, the sugar. So you'd start eating, I'd have a bar that was maybe 3 to 5 months old. Right. And if it didn't stay cold, you'd eat it and it would taste like this weird pukey flavor. Kind of like a Hershey bar. Yeah, that flavor.
Butyric acid, the short chain fatty acid.
Yeah, exactly. And then we switched from coconut butter to use just coconut oil, but it does the same thing. Right. But we still use coconut oil, so I use coconut oil in all the truffles. Okay. So, and that's once I started playing, I had chocolate sauce, and I've done peanut butter cups, and I've done all sorts of weird variances of chocolate. But over time, now I have 3 products. I have a drinking chocolate that I use the coconut palm sugar for. I have the truffles, which is the maple with coconut oil as the base, and cocoa butter, and then the chocolate bars, which is just cocoa butter and honey.
Okay.
And the cacao mass. Yep.
Awesome.
So
what's changed for you over the years with the cocoa part, the cacao? So you started with cocoa powder, and like, what's that process been like?
we got away from the cocoa powder real quick.
Okay.
Because I realized I wasn't making chocolate.
Right.
I realized that's like once I learned, I was like, oh yeah, like just didn't know how. Like once I got to Salt Lake, and once I got feedback from Matt Caputo, and he told me how terrible it was and that I wasn't making chocolate, I was like, oh, I need to learn how to make chocolate. So then I like sought out to learn and actually learned how to make chocolate. So it was quick. It was real quick. I was probably only doing that for about a year.
Okay. Just to be really clear for everyone, the honey that's being used is liquid honey.
Yes.
Like, it's not crystallized in any way and like broken down. It's
if it was crystallized
honey.
Yes, we are pouring liquid honey straight into the chocolate.
Right.
Yep.
Which is a job.
Yeah. My buddy Daniel owns Fine and Raw Chocolate in New York, and I'll never forget this.
It's still local, right?
It is still local.
It's like a mix of the hives around.
Yeah, it's White Lake Farms.
Okay.
White Lake Farms honey. And we've been working with them for years. I love those guys. They're crazy. If you see them at the market, you'll know. You'll know it.
Is that Steve?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh Steve. If you're watching, hey buddy.
Yeah. He's
I'm
not
pointing at the microphone. That's a camera. It's fine. It's fine. I'm a professional. This is all I do.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You can probably
tell. Yeah. Still local honey. We do. We'll use other honey. We make a lot of custom stuff, so we use other honey for other projects because it's cheaper.
Right.
And that's not local honey, but that's what the customer pays me for.
Right. You were saying about with the cacao, your friend that has this other company.
I'll never forget this because he's just a smart ass, but I love him. His name's Daniel, so I called him, and this was so backtrack a few years back. I was in New York, and it was after one of the school days that I was there, one of the weekends, and there was this huge party. It was a benefit for the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation.
Okay.
So I went to this benefit, and I went and partied, and it went late, and I helped work the door. So like at the very end of the night, one of my friends was there. So we're all leaving. It's like 3 a.m. 3:30 in the morning, and my friend Carrie's like, hey, I just got invited to go out to this guy's house and eat a bunch of chocolate. And she was there, she was at his place, and she called me, and she was like, hey, come out to Williamsburg. I'm eating a bunch of chocolate, because we were already at a party eating chocolate. So then we just went to this warehouse to
sounds like code.
Eat more chocolate. So I literally like hop on the train, I get out to Williamsburg. It's almost 4 a.m. and I'm by myself walking in this crazy ass neighborhood. I didn't know where I was, because at that point, like, it hadn't developed. Now Williamsburg
it
had not gentrified. And so I'm standing on the corner. I'm like, call my friend. I'm like, where the hell should I be? And she pops her head out of this like warehouse door. She's like, come on. So, anyways, that was Daniel's place, Daniel Sklar, and he's the owner of Fine and Raw.
Rave?
It was a chocolate rave. That was his loft. That was like, we had so many fun chocolate parties at his place.
It sounds like code.
Yeah. We did have some good times at that warehouse. Anyways, he after about 2 years, when I had started my business, now I'm back in Salt Lake, and I called him to ask him about machinery, because he uses agave, so he makes these little bonbons, and he's gotten away from agave. I think he might still use it in some of his products, but he kind of got away from it too. And I called him and I said, hey man, I need some help. I'm like trying to navigate some of these machines. Can you, like, what do I do? And he was like, honey man, that's sticky stuff, bro. That's it. That's all.
He dove all the way in.
That's all he gave me. That was it. No advice. That's it. Sticky stuff, bro.
Is that code?
Yeah. And he's South African, so he has,
good.
He has
That accent?
that little accent, and oh man, yeah. But we're still homies. I love that guy. But yeah, so I just again like I had to navigate the chocolate world on my own and kind of figure it out. And as far as cacao goes, when I moved I did these. It was the Raw Spirit Fest. So it was this big raw foodie festival. And I met this other chocolatier named Kelly. And he's in Sedona. He's based in Sedona, Arizona. Right. And him and his wife own a place called The Chocolate Tree. And so I met Kelly, and that's when I first had my first source of cacao beans. And he was my hookup for raw, legit, awesome cacao.
Interesting.
Because at that point, I didn't know any of the suppliers. I didn't know.
Chocolate Tree based here in the States.
Yeah, in Sedona,
this
Arizona.
Is not the same chocolate tree in Scotland.
No.
Okay.
Oh, there's a chocolate tree in Scotland.
I have something downstairs, probably.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And I think it's Chocola Tree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Chocola Tree. Yep, Chocola Tree.
So it sounds like chocolate tree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. Kelly's a badass. I love him. I just saw him actually. I was just down in Sedona last week, so we popped into his factory and said hello, and it was fun. My mom was with me at that festival, so we stopped in and ate some raw food and hung out with Kelly, and he had connections to Pacari farms.
Okay.
So my and I didn't realize it was Pacari until a little while later.
They're big.
Yeah, they're huge now. Yeah, they were the first. They were one of the first raw bars, out, in the fine chocolate world.
Right.
And before any of the kind of companies that I knew, like Fine and Raw and Gnosis and Sacred Heart Chocolate and Chocolate Tree and those. So, but yeah. So originally I was buying, and I wasn't buying beans. So we switched from powder and butter, and then we switched to just buying mass. So it's just 100% mass. And we would get these 66-pound blocks.
So somebody else got raw beans, peeled them.
Pacari did.
And then
Pacari processed them into liqueur.
Made liqueur,
yep.
But it's 100% bean.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's just bean, and then I'd buy butter from them too. So I was buying Pacari beans and butter.
But any ratios are totally up to you.
Yes.
If you wanted to put 3 drops of honey and 100 pounds of straight bean, you could do that.
Yes. Yep.
Crazy.
So yeah, it was just mass. So what we would do is we would literally, I knew at that point, then I was like, okay, now I wasn't grinding the beans. I wasn't, but I knew that I was making chocolate better than I was previously. So we would, these blocks were such a pain in the ass to break up. I'd use a big chef's knife and just dice into it.
It's the worst.
Oh yeah. Eventually, we'd get a Sawzall, and then we would just just melt through it. Have you
ever tried a hot wire, like they use with foam?
No,
It'd probably be kind of slow with chocolate.
I think it
would be hot, and that would kind of do.
Well, that was the nice thing is the Sawzall blade would warm up. So it would slowly melt the chocolate. Yeah. And it was a mess.
As much as you cut.
It would melt as you cut. Yeah. It was a fun job, but yeah, I mean, so that was, gosh, how many years was that? Probably, okay. So maybe a year of cocoa powder and cocoa butter, 1 year, and then switched over to that. And I did that for a long time. I don't think we were actually grinding beans until I moved to this space. So I've been grinding beans now for 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the beans from Pacari were from Ecuador?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But now that you're getting your beans in...
From Peru now.
From Peru.
Yep.
Now, normal way of getting beans, you would not want to do the way you make chocolate, right?
No.
Like, remember the beans I was doing in your shop from
Western
Venezuela, and I'd have feathers and stuff?
Yep.
And glass.
And bottle caps.
Yeah. So what is it that's different about your beans where making it without roasting it is okay?
So they wash the beans, essentially. Okay. So they do a wash and a polish.
Do they ferment the beans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So all the beans are fermented. It's a lighter fermentation. It's about 12 hours.
Oh, okay.
Which, I mean, there's so many variances in fermentation.
Sure.
And then Pacari was they were doing the same thing. They were washing and polishing. But now the beans I get now from Peru, they do a wash and polish, and you can see the difference.
I mean, they look like almonds.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're clean,
like orangish brown,
and
they don't look
That's
like
what I should have brought.
dirt.
I should have brought some beans. Yeah, they're not dirty.
Yeah.
Like so many companies, so many farms send me samples, and they're like, try our beans, and
like, I'm not eating
that
like, raw.
They suck. And I don't like them raw. They're not good raw, and that was the hardest thing. Is I wanted, as far as the business, as far as Chocolate Conspiracy was concerned, I wanted it to be raw beans, raw honey. That was so no matter what, that was kind of where I didn't want to go away from that ever.
Okay. Even though you personally don't
do raw all the time anymore.
You eat non-raw.
Oh yeah. And I'm a chocolate fiend, so
that's true.
Yeah.
Including with chocolate, but other places as well.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, what the raw thing we talked about when you were on my podcast before, and we've talked personally about, but some raw people have like some really strict definitions of what is raw and what is no longer raw. And I don't know if they have a word for that. Evil, I don't know. But like what do you say to people that say if any of your ingredients have exceeded 118 degrees? I mean, honestly, if it's outside or even you leave it in your car in the summertime, it's going to be not raw per some of these definitions.
Yes.
What do you say to and about that? Because surely you've been asked this.
Yeah, totally. Sorry, I had so many answers that I've given snarky people, or my snarky answers to those snarky people.
Yeah. You're the snarky one.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. What I say, how I look at it is, fermentation is a natural enzymatic process. That's going to happen no matter what. Like if you leave it out, like if you leave a peach on the counter for too long, it's going to ripen, and then it's going to ferment, and then it's going to rot. Right. So that's what would happen to cacao in nature anyways. It's going to sit, it's going to heat up, it's going to ferment, and then it's going to rot.
Right.
If we don't,
it may not get as hot if it's just a single pod sitting on the jungle floor as opposed to a 1 meter cube.
Yeah, but they put it in those boxes to heat it up, right? But it kills bacteria. Yeah. It develops flavor. Yeah. So a lot of people think raw cacao isn't as clean, but I think the fact that because it's raw, they take so much more time to clean it and to make sure there's not bacteria. And
it sure looks clean. I remember looking at your beans and looking at my filthy beans. I'm like, it's a good thing I'm going to roast and winnow these. Yeah. Because, after I get the glass out.
I pick out these little rocks.
Yeah. Twigs.
And honestly, I kind of like our style too, because once I saw the process of chocolate making, I don't want to sort beans. I don't want to sort through beans. I don't like winnowing's fine. I don't mind winnowing. But
because you turn it and you put it in a machine and hit go.
Yeah, exactly. But it's messy. It's really it's messy, and
I know you're telling them that, but in here you're telling me, and I'm like, I know.
Yeah, you know, yeah. It's everywhere.
Twitching.
But so it's crazy. What happens is they package the cacao in Peru. They vacuum seal it.
Right.
So that's one way that it doesn't get irradiated when it comes into the country, and it's organic. So it's guaranteed organic. A lot of cacao beans sit in burlap bags, get thrown into shipping containers, and then they get sprayed with pesticides. Because bugs will get into the pests and rodents and birds, and so
cacao moths.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this one guarantees that the chocolate is truly organic and clean and no bacteria. I get COAs on all the chocolate as it comes in. Right. So all the cacao, and it's sealed. And the nice thing too is it is sealed. Cacao sitting in a burlap bag as beans, they will get old. They will oxidize. Cacao nibs that have already been cleaned and are vacuum sealed in a bag are gonna. It's funny when COVID hit, my brother was like, so he called me. He's like, so how much chocolate's actually in your factory? How much food do you actually have in your factory? If all goes to hell, can we Are we gonna have enough? Can we just eat enough chocolate? Are we gonna be okay? I was like, oh yeah, I got beans for days.
At least a week.
Yeah, exactly. So honestly, it's like it's preserved and we crack it fresh. The one thing that I like about my chocolate is it's better fresh. I don't age it. We crack the beans, we grind it, we make the bars. It goes on the store shelf. Where a lot of chocolatiers make they'll let their beans age in oak and then they'll grind it later and then they'll put it in as a liqueur on a shelf and let it sit there and develop flavor, and it's just to me I think it's all moot. I don't to me I can eat someone's developed chocolate or flavor and I bet they could have made it just as good without letting it sit there for 8 months. So I don't.
When I would make chocolate, like I found some really big oscillations in flavor in the first few days, and with time, the oscillations got smaller. I say oscillations because it would go from I love this, I hate this, I like it, and like the amplitude of the swings got smaller, and the period of the wave, like how long it took to do the oscillations, got longer. So by 2 weeks, it had calmed down a lot. By 2 months, it was pretty well there. And then from there, it's just a matter of how fast is it evaporating off its aroma. And if you don't have it sealed, it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
But
see, and one of the other things is a lot of grinders have lids. Mm-hmm. And my beans still have a lot of humidity in them. They're dry, but when we were first grinding, if we keep the lid on, there would be moisture that would collect on the lid.
You don't want that.
No. So now we grind without the lid on. But it's nice because then you can taste it as we just do a grind over so many days, those volatile compounds coming out and getting oxygenated, and the flavor is really sharp, and it curves, and then it gets nice and nutty after so much time just in the grinder. So I understand the process of aging.
Sure.
I just lazy.
It's different strokes.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So we got a question here. On average, how long from Peru to being made into a bar? So it's coming by boat. Do you get them through Meridian?
No. Most of the stuff is air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because it's packaged.
They can do that.
No. Yeah. But that's a good question. I would say because there's a warehouse in California, so a lot of it's from the warehouse to me. To making a bar, maybe 3 months. Like we're getting that harvest, like that season. So from Peru to me, 6 months, maybe.
Right
on. But yeah, we never buy too much either, because I have a tiny factory, so I can't store a lot of beans either. Right. So we're going through.
So it goes from delivery to you into bars quick.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Like once it's in our factory, when we buy a pallet of cacao, it's probably lasts us 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So like it might sit in our space, but again, it's vacuum sealed.
Right.
So it's like it's not losing any quality.
Sure.
At that point. So
let's taste.
Shall we get into it?
Yeah. Let's do your dark one. Do you have the package handy?
Yes.
I have the opened version of it. Oh yeah. So let's go ahead and do this. So this is Peruvian beans, cocoa butter, honey.
Yes, that's it. Yep. Originally, I added Himalayan sea salt and vanilla. So that was the original recipe with the coconut butter. But then I just wanted to do simple. So it's 75%.
Yeah, texture, for those who have never had Chocolate Conspiracy before, texture is a lot softer than other chocolate, which I think is probably as much as anything the honey more than the cocoa butter, right?
It's the honey, yep.
It kind of interrupts the crystalline structure of the cocoa butter that would normally get. That's what makes it snappy.
Exactly.
And sugar
plays
into that well.
I've learned to temper so it does snap. But it also has a bend. It has a bendable quality to it. For sure.
This is compared to most raw chocolate, there's a lot more fruitiness to this.
Interesting.
There's something that there's like a particular fruit that I'm tasting, and I'm not
Plum,
putting
raisin.
There is some of that. There's even like a little hint that there's some
Banana.
citrusy flavor to it.
Well, this doesn't taste banana-y, but as when we're grinding it, it smells like banana bread.
Interesting.
Yeah, it has this really like nutty banana bread flavor.
Interesting.
When was this made? July.
This one's June.
June.
June
Yep.
5.
Yep.
This is a Corona batch right here.
We should put stickers on them.
Yeah.
Made during Corona.
You should get the memes from Facebook that said, I've survived Corona so far today. Or marked safe from Corona today. Marked safe from Corona, June 5th, 2021.
Love it.
That'd be good. So, we've talked before about the flavors of chocolate. Awesome. Flavor of cacao. Awesome. There's so many awesome single origins. You've expressed some desire and excitement for some of the fun that can be had by adding. Do you ever meet any pushback from that? You ever have people saying like, leave it alone. It's just poor little chocolate bar.
Leave her alone. A long time ago, yeah. Not anymore. I think the industry's changed. Lots of people are doing inclusions now.
I've been noticing I've been buying and eating a lot of inclusions lately.
Yep. I've always liked them, but I've always liked, like, I'm not a snooty chocolate eater.
Okay.
Like I remember we were in an Airbnb around Christmas time, and the lady was so ashamed that she had a bowl of like a grab bag of little chocolate bars. It was like Crunch bars and stuff. And I was like, whatever, I'll eat candy. But it was just like, a long time ago. No, I didn't. I was very strict, obviously, with my diet. But I like inclusions, and it's interesting. Last time we talked on the podcast, I was like almost bitter. I was like, people need to start doing new and innovative things. But I've seen it now. It is happening. People are doing it.
You should say you're welcome.
Yeah.
That was all AJ right here. You heard it first on episode whatever that was, 5 or something.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, it's I like flavors. I want to learn. We're playing right now. We got this cherry juice concentrate.
Okay.
And it's thick. It's like cough syrup.
Oh,
it like tastes like
crazy.
cherry cough syrup, but like the purest form of cherry.
Right,
there's nothing in it except just cherry juice. And
crazy.
It's so good. And I bought it.
Like dark cherries?
Yeah, like
not like Rainier cherries or something.
No, they're sweet. Like
okay.
Is it sweet? Yeah, I'll have to look. It's not tart cherry. It's not like a pie cherry. No,
Okay.
it is a sweeter cherry, and it's local. I got it down in St. George at this cute little market. But we're playing with that, and what we did is we thinned it out a little bit, and we added vodka, and then we're soaking the beans in that. So we're soaking the nibs, and
So
then
vodka's gonna help carry it.
yeah,
Cool.
and then we let it soak for about 7 days, and then we strained it off. And the idea came because there's a winery down in Moab that has a cherry wine, and so we were making a cherry wine chocolate bar, and it was fabulous. And the winery got sold and bought by someone else, and so we're not making the bar anymore. But it was like one of our favorite bars.
So you said you soaked for 7 days, and then
we strain it, and then we dehydrate them.
Dehydrate, okay.
Yeah, and then dry them, and in a dehydrator, like not a roaster.
Okay.
So I have this just little from my raw foodie days. So, but that's one of the new things we're trying. We're kind of playing with that. It didn't work out the first time, so it's not strong enough. The flavor wasn't strong enough.
So rather than having like a dried version of something you're grinding in, you've been doing a lot of experiments with soaking your nibs in something.
Yes. So what I realized, I was talking to Erica about this a little bit. We were trying to just define like what am I doing with ingredients? And
Right.
they're common ingredients that everyone's familiar with in a different form, and then I'm putting it in a different way.
Okay.
So cherries, raspberries. Like on my raspberry bar, I'm using a freeze-dried raspberry.
Sure.
And then we're grinding that in. But that's kind of the case with all chocolatiers. They use a raspberry powder. They use whole raspberries that are dried or dehydrated or not freeze-dried.
Right.
So again, but I buy the raspberry freeze-dried powder, and then we're grinding that in. And so we're utilizing ingredients just in a different way.
Okay.
But that are common that people know.
Sure.
Yep. But yeah, I'd love to see.
Are you planning on doing more like the Americano chai milk?
Ooh.
Somebody is a fan of the Americano chai milk.
I love that bar. Cha-cha.
So
this was my first
We'll
milk.
be eating it tonight. If you are not prepared, you have to go buy your own or order it online from, what's the website again?
Eat Chocolate Conspiracy.
Eat Chocolate Conspiracy.
Conspiracy.
I can't. Words.
This was my first.
Oh.
Does dairy work well with raw beans? Yeah. I haven't had a problem with it yet.
Interesting.
We use an organic milk powder. I've always been dairy free.
Right.
So that was another one of the tenets of the business was no dairy, no refined sugar,
No gluten.
no gluten,
No
no
soy.
soy. Yeah, those were those were the tenets. But
Thank you for
as time went on and as we played more, I wanted to stretch my chocolate making. So this was our first milk chocolate bar, and this one is sweetened with coconut palm sugar. So this one doesn't have honey.
So no honey.
Yeah, a lot of people did like milk and honey.
Is that one easier to temper and process?
No, because I'm used to making honey sweetened chocolate.
So you just don't know what you're doing?
Yeah. It's actually funny because we're like, now it took a while. It took me a while to figure out the temper. It took me a while to figure it out. Let's see if this actually looks tempered. It might be.
Yeah. Early in the processes, folks at home, we learned some of our demo. I'm looking at the microphone again. We learned from our demos that opening packages, hoping for some kind of ASMR effect, was really more of an ice pick to the face effect. It sounded horrible.
See, it tempered pretty well.
Yeah.
It's got a little bubbles and waves, but I've seen worse bars on a store shelf.
It's, summertime.
Yeah.
Hit me.
I've bought...
So this is a chai one?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a snap like you don't normally get in your bars.
Nope. So this is the only bar we've done with coconut sugar. But I want to start doing more bars with coconut sugar.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because it's funny. A lot of people, because I have a lot of vegan-friendly products, and people always ask if I was going to make a vegan bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I could. And then so we started playing with coconut sugar, but then we added milk. And I'm like, haha, no, you can't. I'm not making a vegan bar.
That's nice. The spices are really nice.
Yeah. I love this bar. The tea. So tea comes from Tea Grotto here in Salt Lake. It's a different style of chai. Most chais are your traditional like masala chai that you get out of India. That's cardamom, clove, ginger, black pepper. This is literally just orange peel, cinnamon, and black tea. That's
Crazy.
it. Okay.
Yeah, that orange is like so pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super subtle. Like it's there.
Yeah.
But
when you make the
nice.
chai, and actually, so when I was the first like retail location I had on Night South, I was making more drinks and we were doing more beverages, and we would serve this tea.
Oh, you're a block away from these guys, right?
Yeah. At the time, yeah. So I just walked down and buy tea. Yeah. So we would that's the only. Well, originally we had we used a couple tea companies in Salt Lake. Queen's Tea was really great too. We used a couple of theirs, but anyways, when you brew the chai, it tastes like a cinnamon bear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it has
Crazy.
that weird kind of hot red cinnamon flavor.
Kind of. That's like coming forward with time.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about coconut lime.
Coconut
You
lime.
have the package there.
Yeah.
Show the folks at home. So on the back of this one, it's beautiful. I don't know if the focus is going to do this. Maybe I need to hold it here. Lots of coconut back in here. So this is the chocolate itself is just your dark chocolate, and then you add the other stuff to the back. How's that process work?
We add the lime. It's a lime oil.
Okay.
It's an essential oil, and then
Those are actually in the chocolate.
yeah. So during the tempering process, we add the lime oil, and we wait to take. So since it's an essential oil, what happens is like if it's too hot, you don't get as much flavor.
Right.
So we wait till the chocolate cools halfway, like as it's cooling in the temper.
Okay.
We add the essential oils.
Interesting.
It helps maintain a lot of that, like really rich,
Liminess.
yeah, liminess. And I didn't want.
But it's not the sour; it's that aroma.
Yeah, and this is a lime that's like it's not like your Persian lime. It's like a popsicle lime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a fun way.
And then the salt, we sprinkle so on the back, actually we add the salt in during tempering as well. It's a coconut smoked lime sea salt.
Coconut smoked.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So there's a lime in the salt with the coconut. So they actually smoke it all together. So it's this gray flaky salt. Really awesome. I love it. It's such a good salt. So salt goes in, lime oil goes in, and then the coconut on the back.
This is a great summer chocolate.
Yeah.
Which, considering chocolate is like late September, early October to Mother's Day, kind of a food.
Yep.
Having a summer one makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I didn't really ever I don't like a lot of texture.
Okay. With your chocolate?
In chocolate, yeah. I don't like texture.
I consume all food through a straw.
Yeah, I do. I remember some of the first few years, people would always come by and be like, "Do you have anything with almonds?" And I was just like, "No, I don't," because I'm like one of those people that get like if there's brownies, like I just want a plain brownie. Don't put walnuts in it. Don't bastardize that brownie. So I don't like a lot of texture in my chocolate.
Okay.
And if I'm eating a confection, I like some texture like a truffle, or like if it's a bark, like a peppermint. If it's meant to have like whole things on it, sometimes I'm okay with it. But back in the day when I started, I would never hated
You're like
it.
a purist.
Yeah,
this would.
Yeah, that's where I was a purist. Like I didn't want texture in my bars.
Huh.
But I did except my mint bar, which has nibs.
It's funny with how unconventional your approach was that you still found a way to be a purist. Like, now I have a line.
Yes.
I'm not crossing it. Like, the line is nowhere near the lines you think chocolate is,
Exactly.
but it's over here instead.
So I made barks at one point. I made like little cups, and we've done little truffles with other texture. But right now, the only bars, the two bars, is the mint bar and the coconut lime that actually have texture to it.
Okay.
Yep. Everything else is. I mean, the raspberry is ground really well, so you don't even notice any texture. You don't notice any of the raspberry at all. So
that is a fun one.
I love that bar.
Before we grab the next one, let's talk about all your experiments with beer, because you've done so many.
Yeah.
What started that, and what gave you what was the first partnership, and then what gave you the idea of how, like, the process itself?
It started when Fisher Beer opened up.
So it's around the corner from you.
Right around the corner from us. So that's when it started. Because at that point too, I started really getting into. I'm into beer. I'm into wine. I'm into spirits. I love the process of how it's made.
Right.
I think if I ever stop making chocolate, I'm just going to go make beer. That's that's going to be my next career. I'll go work for a beer company. And maybe when I retire, or if chocolate fails, I'm going to make beer. The process started because I was going over to Fisher a lot because they're right around the corner. And so we started playing, and I did so many weird experiments. I've done stuff with hops. We've done stuff with powdered hops. We've done stuff with liquid hops. We've done What we've done is like we've reduced beer into like a sticky syrup, and we've added that in the chocolate, and we've played with it a lot. The other partnership, the one that really took off was the next bar we're going to talk about. But the first bars I made was their Fisher's Red, their Brown Ale, and their Citra Bomb.
Okay.
And so we did it for a holiday. Well, like it was right before Christmas, and we started dabbling. So I literally started learning how can I get beer flavor. Here's what started it. Other companies were making wine, whiskey, and beer chocolate.
Right.
You don't taste the beer, the wine, or the whiskey. So, and they waste years. They're like, I aged this in a barrel with whiskey, and it doesn't taste like whiskey at all. And so I was getting pissed because I would buy these bars, and I felt like I was wasting my money. And I was like, nobody is making these. No one's doing it right.
Right.
Or no one, not right. There's not a right or a wrong way. No one's getting the flavor that they think they could be getting.
And that you were wanting.
Yes.
You're like, I want it more.
Yeah, and when I brought the beer bars to Matt Caputo, that was the first thing he said. He's like, he's like, I can taste all the beer. He's like, I can taste every single beer. Each bar is different. You get all the notes. You like if you have the beer right next to you and you were to drink it, and like if you were blinding and you were like, oh, I'll try that bar, you would be like, nope, that's not the beer. Or if it was, you'd be like, yep, that's like. So we figured out a way to infuse the beer, but like we do a soak on the nibs and strain off the beer and dehydrate, and it's a long process, not as long as a barrel age, or not as long.
For 2 years.
Yeah, I did. We experimented with a barrel, and it was a pain in the ass. And that's like now the barrel's just a beautiful piece of decor in the chocolate shop now. But that's honestly we started doing it because Sugar House Distillery. My buddy Jake used to work there, and he wanted me to do a whiskey chocolate. So we were trying to figure it out. And I never knew this process at that time. So I just like failed on a whiskey chocolate because I never got the flavor, just like other chocolate makers never got the flavor. And so finally with Fisher Beer, we made it work. We found out the ratios. We figured out how to make it work. And then the Baba Bar came to be because the reason I wanted to do this as our first commercial beer bar, is it's an organic beer. And,
okay.
Yeah, and I really love Uinta. I think they're one of my favorite breweries in Salt Lake.
What kind of grain are they using?
Grain for this one?
Yeah. Do you know?
I don't know. I should ask them. I can't remember.
It's called the Baba Black Lager, right?
Yep.
From Uinta.
Yeah.
Fabulous bar.
Yeah.
What kind of flavors do you tell people to look for with this one?
This one you get like a malty, rich malt. That's what I taste the most.
Yeah.
Rich malt. And a nice.
It reminds me of a little bit of like a dark bread, but like in a sweet way.
Yeah. Bready and malt. It's funny. So these two bars last year at the Northwest Chocolate Festival, the Coconut Lime and the Black Lager were my best sellers.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I haven't eaten this in a long time. I haven't. I don't know why. We haven't. Well, but we've been exploring. So the goal now is this kind of launched this new idea for us. This beer bar, and now everyone wants a beer line. So now I've been going to a bunch of local breweries, the ones I really like, and we're gonna make a 6-pack of bars.
That's amazing.
So now we're gonna have an IPA. We're gonna have the Black Lager. We're gonna do a haze. We have a Gose. A Gose. So Gose is like a salty beer.
Okay.
And there's proper their Gose is called Lay Effect. Well, they have one called Lake Effect, and that's just their normal Gose. And then they have the Lay Effect. It has cardamom and
interesting.
Oh, I'm farting right now. What's in it? I'll remember. It's a tropical fruit.
Okay.
I can't remember right
Passion
now.
fruit. Guava.
It might be passion fruit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That'd be
it might be, but I can't remember. So I'll double check.
We'll just say it's passion
Sorry,
fruit.
proper. Sorry, I don't remember. But that one is like on point. It's such a good bar. So the other one we're doing it's called Soul Rex.
Okay.
And that's from Level Crossing Brewery, and that's so those are the ones we've decided on at least. And I've done stuff with a lot of breweries. Ketos. Oh, so now we make custom bars for Fisher. We make custom bars for Ketos. Proper wants us to do custom bars for them. We'll get there eventually, but we want to get our line done first.
Sure.
And we were supposed to launch it last year, but it hasn't happened. Developing a line of bars takes a lot longer than people think.
Even without a pandemic and crazy lockdowns.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
all the other crap that's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So I love it, and I think that's a lot of the beer bars now we're doing. 3 of them we've done with cane sugar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
the Shambo. Shambo's the other one. Shambo's from. Oh man, why can't I think of their brewery?
Epic.
They're gonna hate me. No, not Epic. But we did. They're not watching. No, it's a fruity IPA. So
Okay.
it's this it tastes like grape.
I think I tried that at your shop.
Yeah, you
a few years
did.
ago.
Yeah.
You gave me quite the lineup.
There was, so we've got a ton of them. And again, bunch of experiments. I've probably done at least 20 different.
You were having some fun there.
3, 6. Yeah, we have 6 in production plus the Baba 7. So we make at least 7 beer bars regularly now.
When you do a test batch, how many bars is that, or how much chocolate is that making in terms of bars?
It's about 40 bars. 40, 45 bars.
I know some people would probably buy them.
Yeah, cool. I got this bunch. Come buy bar. Oh yeah, just you email Brian and we'll ship them out.
Yeah, we can work this out.
Yeah. So, but it was cool because it spawned this new idea. So now we've started doing beer, cheese, and chocolate events, and so I've done many with Fisher. We've done a few. We did some with Proper. There's this really cool place called We All Live at Trolley Square.
Okay.
And it's like a olive oil store. It's beautiful, but he sells meat and cheese and beer.
Right.
And he has like a little bistro where you can hang out and eat. And so we've done tastings there with him a couple times. So I've done 3 separate events there, all pairing events. And so we did one with Uinta. We've done one with Ketos. So that was again, why the line hasn't started, because we're doing all these other fun things.
And too busy having fun. Huh?
Yeah, so it's been a really cool. It's been fun. It's been new. It's been exciting.
What else is in the upcoming quasi-foreseeable future for Chocolate Conspiracy?
That's a good question.
I mean, you got a lot of beer bars coming. And
Yep.
that has nearly unlimited possibilities.
Oh, totally.
In terms
Well, now
different
there are
beers.
breweries out of state contacting me that want
wow.
me. Yeah, so there's a brewery in Washington and a brewery in Colorado that want me to use their beer and make them beer bars.
Awesome.
So yeah. As far as Chocolate Conspiracy goes, we're going to keep making our 3 main products. It'll be the chocolate bars, the drinking chocolate, and the truffles.
Okay. Any other trends you want to set, like you did in the podcast? Anything else you want the chocolate world to do?
Let me think about
you have such power.
Yeah. No, but we're gonna keep cranking. We're gonna keep cranking out chocolate. Expand the bars. What we want to do is, these are all paper wrapped and they're my old molds, but we want to transition everything into these pouches.
Sure.
So all the bars will be the same. They'll all look the same. So we're gonna get new boxes designed that's a general box for everything.
Okay.
Except we're gonna create a cool little 6-pack. I don't
I'm into
know.
it.
I don't know how we're gonna do that yet, but that's
figure that out.
I know that's the idea. And honestly, we're gonna keep our doors closed. With COVID or not COVID, we slowly have decreased our retail hours.
Right.
And now it's me and Erica and Mike. That's just the 3 of us that
Right.
are doing it.
So you got to go to the stores where stuff is sold, right?
Yep. So originally we were open just on Saturdays,
Right.
and we were open for tours, and people would come in, and we have chocolate smoothies, and we have other offerings like the peanut butter cups and sauce. And honestly, I don't want to do that anymore. So people don't need to see the factory. I mean, it's nice. I would like to have a better setup to do tours again.
Right.
But it'll be by appointment only, and we'll, a certain amount of people in the group. So that's kind of the idea. As the business grows, I want to keep. Honestly, we were kind of headed towards becoming a bigger company. I wanted it to be bigger. I wanted to do bigger distribution. I wanted to get into more Whole Foods, and because of COVID, it kind of made me rethink a lot of things, and in a good way too, because I kind of want to be this chocolate artist still. I don't want to do big distribution. I don't want to be in all the Whole Foods. It'd be nice, but then I'm dealing with big distributors and all these other things. So I want to keep this kind of
the creative juices.
Yeah, and I don't want to get burnt out, and so we're going to keep developing bars, but then work with really cool stores that we do anyways already. Cool. the small health food stores and the cute little craft shops and breweries and beer stores. And
awesome.
So like Uinta carries our bars in their little beer store, so they'll go through, they sell a lot of, it's crazy how many bars they sell in their little beer store. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's as the company grows, but yeah, we're not going to open our doors. We're going to push online sales and do more shipping and focus on distribution with cool stores like Harmon's. I want to focus on, there's so many cool small chains, AJ's Fine Foods, Balducci's, there's, just every little state has these kind of cool stores like Harmon's. I really love what Harmon's is doing. I love how they support us. I love how local they are. Caputo's is amazing. I love like that style of grocery store,
specialty market,
specialty markets, and that's what we were going to focus on. Is we're going to keep it this kind of low key chocolate company and not get too big. And I don't want 30 people that have to sort beans.
You won't have to fight off the crowds. Go out in public wearing the sunglasses and have the paparazzi.
No.
I feel you. It's rough. Let me tell you.
Yeah. The idea now is we're thinking about trying to get out of Salt Lake. We'll stay in Utah, but we want to stay close. So we want to go midway. I don't want to go to Hebrew. Hebrew's gross. We want to be close. We want to be a couple hours away, but we want to be out of the city. But we want to build a new shop, and I want to go back to that small town kind of roots where clean air and I can see the stars.
You have to wait for the fires to be over.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Go really high up.
So I don't know how that's gonna. I don't know what's gonna happen there. We'll see. So, but otherwise, me and Erica are cranking out. So
fantastic.
She's been.
You two and Mike are doing great work.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many just happy coincidences that the Chocolate Society, Chocolate Fascination is just one of many little fun things that have kind of come together. So I'm the beneficiary of so many things. You being right in town is, I will miss when you're gone.
Oh yeah.
And I might, it's not over. I haven't tried talking them out of it yet, but I'm grateful that you're around, and I really enjoyed having you on tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to continue eating chocolate, but I think we'll let you guys go. This has been Chocolate Fascination. I'm Brian Ruggles.
Thanks, guys.
AJ Wentworth of The Chocolate Conspiracy. Let's go over it again. So, eatchocolateconspiracy.com.
Yep.
They can order from you there.
Yep.
Locally, you can buy bars.
All the Harmon's, all the Caputo's, all the Whole Foods, all the natural grocers, Liberty Heights. We got a list, and there's a ton of stores out of state that we're into. So, and if we're not in your state and there's a cool store you really like, shoot us an email. You can literally email us right through our website, or send us a message on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and let us know what stores should carry it, and we'll get them out there. So,
well, thanks for being on, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Love you guys. Hope you're all being safe, and I'll catch you next time. We fade to black.